Have you ever worried that you might be the cool kid? You wear the latest fashions on top of all the trends? Or have you ever worried you were too much in the mainstream? Always so generic, more normal than your friends? Well, we've devised a test to put to rest your fears. There's no need to panic if you lend us your ears. Tonight you can't sleep easy after all that you've heard. Cause if you like the show, then you're probably a nerd. Oh, Canon, it's Canon, it's all. Tyler, Phil, and Boris. So Canon, it's Canon, it's all in Canon.
It's Sunday. You know what that means. It's time for a new episode of the Its Canon Podcast, the podcast where we talk about all things geek, the podcast where we talk about all things pop culture, the podcast where we talk about all things video games, comic books, toys, books, Muppets, Legos, Star Wars, anything and everything, because it's all in canon. As always, we're your hosts. I'm Boris, and this week I'm joined by Phil.
Where's Phil? Where is he? Happy Easter, everybody.
That's right, happy Easter to everyone celebrating. Hopefully, you're not with your families.
Yeah, exactly. But if you do go on Animal Crossing, it happens to be Bunny Day. You can talk to Zipper, the bunny. He's a little bit, different. That's what I'll say about that. He's a different kind of bunny.
All right, we have a lot to cover today.
On lifestyle.
We have a lot to cover today. We are going to be talking a bunch of video game news, including MLB The Show, Lego Star Wars, Cyberpunk, CD Projekt Red. We're going to be talking about cons, because apparently we talked and all the plans changed. We're going to be talking about TV and movie news. We have streaming news. We even have some important tech privacy news, just to, install some fear into you, because that is what we do here in the Its Canon Podcast.
Yeah, we're peddlers of fear.
Yep. I got an email saying that's what we do.
Really?
Yep.
That's cool. You know what? I look at it as we are examining things from a point of view that's probably a little more pro-consumer, but that's just me. Who knows?
Exactly. I don't know. It's funny sometimes the feedback that we get. I just read that, laughed, and deleted it. But thank you for the feedback.
Yeah, appreciate it, actually. I love the talking points. I really do. You know, whether or not I agree with them, it's a point of view. So thanks for taking the time to listen to the show. And, keep on sending it in. It's fine as long as there's no racial slurs or death threats or any of that kind of crap. We're good with it.
Yep. All right, so another week without Tyler. We hope we can get him back soon, but I know he's busier than both Phil and I put together. So Tyler, if you're listening, you do you, and fuck you.
I don't think he has time to listen.
No, he doesn't. I know sometimes he does, but yeah, no, so I know a couple people have asked, and, sometimes real life takes over, and that's the priority regardless of, what we do here. So, it is what it is, and we hope we can get it back soon, but I just wanted to quickly address that since I got a couple messages asking, where is Tyler? So I'm sure he thanks you for asking, but yeah, real life takes over sometimes.
Yeah, and he's in our chat. It's not like we've lost contact with Tyler. We still have really good interactions and we get his take on things. But it's just the time that it takes to set aside to do this and do this well. It's just not feasible with his schedule right now. And that's understandable. It's not a job.
Speaking of schedules, this week is going to be insane for me. Hopefully my voice can actually make it through the week. But, I have a really busy week, Phil. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah. You're saying something about that wrestling thing is happening?
Yeah, so this next weekend is WrestleMania.
That Mania.
It turned into a one-day event, turned into a weekend event, has turned into a week-long event. So basically, I just finished recording the Sunday Night's Main Event radio show. That's going to be on iHeartRadio and at snmeradio.com later today. So that I finished doing that. Tuesday, you and I are recording our Falcon and Winter Soldier special. So that's going to be out on Wednesday. On Wednesday, I have NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver Night 1 to review, cover. Then on Thursday, I have NXT UK in the afternoon to watch, review, cover, record. Then at night, I have NXT Stand and Deliver Night 2 to do all that fun stuff. And then Saturday is WrestleMania Night 1. Sunday is WrestleMania Night 2, and then obviously I'm going to watch the shows, and then after the shows with the patrons, we kind of do this after show, after party type thing, where all the hosts from all the podcasts kind of come together, talk about the show, take Zooms / callers from people. So, you know, I have the next...
That's pretty cool.
My dance card is pretty full.
I'm always amazed at how much goes on in the world of wrestling.
Yeah.
As a guy who's not really into it, but being a friend of you and seeing how much of that goes on is always mind-blowing to me about how big it is and about how much entertainment they do produce.
Oh, it's crazy. So, you know, the thing is like, you know, with it being WrestleMania week, it's not just WWE who takes advantage of it because it's their show.
Mm-hmm.
Other companies take advantage of it because it is WrestleMania week. So it's kind of like one of the biggest weeks in wrestling, period. Earlier this morning, New Japan Pro Wrestling had one of their bigger shows of the year. And, you know, so it's just a crazy time for wrestling. Like, nowadays, here in North America, you can watch one show of wrestling every single weekday. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy just how big, but yet small it is. Like, you know, we're not in the Hulk Hogan rock and wrestling era anymore. We're not in the Rock era anymore, where, you know, you have that one superstar who's bigger than the business itself, right? Right now, it's like if you're popular in wrestling, you're kind of popular in wrestling. I think the most popular person right now outside of wrestling would probably be John Cena. And even then, he barely wrestles now. Dave Bautista has been retired, but he's, you know, kind of made a great career for himself after WWE. So
it's fascinating to me. I see a lot of it, and a lot more of it in the background than I ever used to. And wow, yeah, it's good for you guys. Like, honestly, I'm glad it's there. I got video games and shit that I want to do. So
yeah,
I don't know how you make the time with all the geek stuff and that.
I don't know. I have zero idea how I keep up with everything, and I'm having a really weird deja vu right now. It's so strange. There's a glitch in the Matrix, my friend.
Again.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Again. It's crazy.
Paranoia.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
Oh my gosh.
So that's my week coming up. Phil, how's the week that passed?
It's been predictable. I actually, it's to the point now where I'm like, I can pre-fill out my my log of shows just because of the way that everything is going. I don't know what's gonna happen to me this week because this week Snowpiercer's over, Resident Alien is over, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we're halfway through it. Godzilla vs. Kong came out. I'm like, what the heck? Invincible, I guess, is my new pickup.
Yep.
That thanks to you. I've seen the first 4 episodes, and I've bought the first omnibus. Yeah. So it's like the first 30 issues or some shit. And
which
that
are covered
was
by the first episode.
Yeah, which is like the first episode. But I wanted to go and see that. I just wanted to. It was pretty cheap on Comixology. I think it was $20 for that first one. So I threw the cash down. And I'm like, you know what? Curious to see what's going on here.
Well,
the parallels,
you have
storytelling.
Mark Miller's Jupiter's Legacy coming out soon, which is kind of Netflix's response to Invincible.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a great show.
I like it when companies compete.
Yeah. Hey, competition between two companies is the best for the consumer.
It is indeed. It is indeed, as evident by this week's release of Outriders on Xbox Game Pass. Woohoo! So I get to see what load times are like again. Oh my gosh, I played Forza Horizon 4 last night with a friend because he is so mad about this game. He loves it. Just loves it. And I loaded up, and then he gives me the codes to do the car augmentations that we need to in order to do the online racing and crap like that. And holy cow, is that game ever a lot of sit around and wait sometimes? Because it's just load times.
That's my issue with Gran Turismo.
Yeah. I'm so spoiled by PS5. Honestly.
It's crazy just how quickly you get spoiled by PS5 and its load times. Even taking in older games sometimes, the load times are substantially so much less. Like, I'm committed to finish Metal Gear Solid 5. I'm going to fucking finish that game. I'm going to do it. And the load times are insanely fast, even for a game that's now 6 years old.
No, that's great. Yeah, and I agree. I've loaded on some PS4 classics, and I have them even on my hard drive, my external hard drive, so I can keep the SSD kind of clear of stuff that doesn't need to be on it. Now, last night I downloaded Disco Elysium, the Ultimate Edition, because I've heard nothing but amazing things about it from most reviewers that I watch. And they even said on this new version, the old one that came out in 2019, they gave it a 9.6 in some places. I think IGN did. And they revised it for this new version and gave it a perfect 10 because of all the voice acting. So I'm curious because apparently it's like D&D meets a LucasArts old school game meets a murder mystery. It's so up my alley and not anywhere near my alley.
Right.
That I'm curious to know if it can compel me into the story that everyone's promising me will be good.
Right.
So I'm curious. I'm just like I'm really going into it with open arms and hoping that it hooks me.
Yeah.
I just want to get lost for 40 hours in a game.
Yeah, I gotta admit that I need to get back to my video gaming. That is what suffered with me being so busy. Not my TV watching, because, I can watch TV right before bed. I know I shouldn't, but I do. Just because, I feel like I don't get as best a rest with leaving my tablet or whatever on as I try to go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
But, even my TV shows, like, I'm so behind in Snowpiercer. I'm about 3 episodes behind now. I think 7, 8, 9. Yeah.
I think you're 4.
I'm 4 episodes behind.
Yeah, you're 4.
I'm on episode 7. So I have all of that to watch. I have to continue Shameless. That's on the final season. I've committed 11 fucking years to that show. I'm gonna see it through. What else am I behind on? That's pretty much it. So I have this tendency, because I don't want to watch anything new or I'm too tired, I just put on something that I've seen 1,001 times. So I watched 2 things last night. I think you saw one of them, and it was both
Chasing Amy.
Yeah, Chasing Amy. One of my favorite Kevin Smith movies, if not my favorite. I just love that movie. It's just life imitating art.
Yep.
And then the other movie I watched before that was I actually watched from beginning to end Good Will Hunting again, because when I watched it last week, I kind of just caught the middle of it because I was working. So I was able to watch it from the beginning to end. It's I do that about once every 6 months probably. I just absolutely love that movie.
Yeah, it's a great film. I did the same thing like we were talking about before. I watched Yoga Hosers this week. Oh my God.
I was going to ask you about that.
Oh, jeez. That was, I know he's trying to do different stuff. I know it's essentially the sequel to Tusk, which is an absolutely difficult watch at times.
I loved it.
Uncomfortable.
I loved it.
Well, I like the absurdity of it. That's for sure. There are elements, and Yoga Hosers perpetuates that. I just was surprised because I kept on being referred to as if it was made, and I missed it. I completely missed Yoga Hosers. I totally caught Tusk, but I completely missed Yoga Hosers.
Yeah, so
I procured
here's the thing.
the Blu-ray.
Here's the reason why. Because Tusk debuted at TIFF, which is Toronto International Film Festival, we heard about it a lot being in the city. Ish in your case.
Yeah.
So, you're in the area, you were going to hear about it. That's why you heard about Tusk, because they were covering a lot. If it wasn't for TIFF, I don't think I really would have heard about it. Actually, I maybe would have, because around that time, I was listening to a lot of those View Askew podcasts, so maybe I would have caught it. But, yeah, even Yoga Hosers, the only reason I really heard about it was because I was listening to the Smodcast. So, it was he was talking about it, or Hollywood Babylon with Ralph Garman, which is my favorite of those View Askew ones. So, so yeah, that's how I kind of knew about Yoga Hosers. So I did catch it in theaters here in Toronto. It was on one weekend. That's it.
Holy crap. Yeah, I bought the Blu-ray. All right. So I bought the Blu-ray. I watched it. And that was not all the movie. And the reason why I caught on about it was because Harley did an episode of Comic Book Man behind the counter to prep for being a clerk in Yoga Hosers. And that was what the light bulb was for me. Like, oh yeah, I remember hearing the word Yoga Hosers, and I remember it was going to be a Harley movie. And I remember all this, and I'm like, whatever happened to it? Then I go on Amazon, I'm like, yeah, I'll buy that. And it gets delivered, and I'm like, whoa, this is not like Canadian Nazi bratwurst Nazis are not what I was expecting. But hey, if that doesn't wet the whistle, I don't know what will. But get this, here's an interesting story. A friend of mine has a server where he maybe streams some movies to his friends and stuff. So whatever. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. He gets some pretty current stuff. I'm like, yeah, whatever, that's cool. I'm like, hey, you happen to have Kong vs. Zilla? Yeah, you do? Oh, that's cool. Maybe I'll check it out. But then I thought, you know what? That service was having difficulty this week. So I'm like, no big deal. You know what? I'm a grown man. I can go out and rent Kong versus Godzilla. Now, first off, let me tell you something here in Canada. This isn't like a $4.99 rental.
No,
this is a $24.99. And you get it for 48 hours. Yeah, that's it. And once you start watching it, that's it. You're locked in for 48 hours. So I'm like, all right. So what I do is I buy it on my phone. And I'm figuring, you know what? I'm just going to get over Google and I'll cast it to my Chromecast. Right? And watch it on my TV with my surround sound and all that. Like, no big deal. I can watch it in 4K then. So I download the movie thinking that that's going to give it the highest quality for casting. Guess what? It won't let you cast the movie because you've downloaded it onto your phone.
Wow.
So I delete the download, but it doesn't update the license file. So now I'm completely locked out of my frickin' movie.
Amazing.
Like, holy shit, right? So I'm just sitting there like, okay, so I'll read down. Basically, the only way that I could watch this movie is to watch it on my Galaxy Note 10. Like, I'm not going to watch this.
Where did you rent it from?
I rented it from Google. So what I did was I after farting with it for 2 hours, never actually starting the movie, by the way, I got my refund for it. I was just like, screw you guys. Like, give me my money back. I can't even watch this. I can't cast it to my Google TV. I couldn't pull it up on my Google TV. I couldn't pull it up on Chromecast. I couldn't broadcast it to Chromecast. I couldn't get it anywhere on any device that I wanted to watch it because I wanted to watch it on a TV. So you know what's funny? In the meantime, my friend's service started running and I just watched it on that.
Yeah, here's the thing. Two things there. Number one, Cineplex is the way to go for these rentals. Number two, this is why people illegally stream and pirate stuff. If people are willing to put in the legal money and you make it half near impossible for them to enjoy it, they are not going to do it again and they are going to pirate shit. How many times have we talked about this on the show?
Yep. I know, and I'm not an advocate of piracy whatsoever.
Same here.
However, this showed me why people do that exactly. And I tried so hard to do this properly. And you know what? I'll still buy the movie. I'll still buy it if they actually make a disc for it. I would purchase it. I would put it in my collection because I like the movie.
Yeah.
But it was so difficult to watch it properly on this weird screwed up thing that they got going on where it's simultaneous release, HBO Max, not available in Canada. You have to do this to get it. Like, this whole thing is just full of bullshit. This whole system of trying to get access to these movies.
Hold on, but this is not Warner Brothers' fault. This is the way Google handles DRM.
Well, it's Warner Brothers' fault in the sense that they're not in Canada and they're not working with Crave
but that's because,
to opt these things into
this is
the
whole
service.
Point of you complain to WB, people complain to WB, they will step in. But when they subcontract this stuff, they subcontract for a reason because they don't need to handle it. That's the issue.
No, I wish that there was better ways to get a hold of the product. That would be my complaint to Warner Brothers. My complaint to Google is exactly parked in where we're headed on that front.
Yep.
That's total crap that I can buy the movie and I can't cast it to your own secure product. It's not like I'm trying to broadcast it on my Roku. It's not that I'm trying to do it on some other device, an Apple TV or something that has to be a cross handshake. This is your own ecosystem.
Here's what I've heard a lot, especially recently now with more integrations coming from Google with Google TV and stuff like that, is that a lot of the ecosystem here in Canada is starting to break because a service might not be available here in Canada that all the entire ecosystem needs to run properly. So I'm hearing of a lot of reports and complaints from reviewers. I can't legitimize these just yet, but I've been seeing, reading, hearing that this is becoming now an issue with Google devices here in Canada.
Yeah, there's something definitely rotten in Denmark or in Canada as far as Google is concerned in this whole situation.
But
they did refund me.
That's fantastic, but still, I'm looking to buy a new TV, and I'm actually thinking of getting one of those Hisense TV, because newer company seem to be doing well, kind of like TCL, where they're focused on TVs, right? Did you know TCL is actually like third right now in terms of power marketplace? Like, to me, that's crazy, because I would see TCL all the time, and I'm like, I'm not buying this shit. I don't know who they are, but
I have a Hisense.
Yeah, so I'm looking at a Hisense, and it's one of the 2020 models with Android TV, blah blah blah. But this is where I caught on to this issue, where some of the reviewers from Canada, are saying, well, this isn't working great. The voice doesn't work because, well, the voice doesn't work here in Canada, or stuff like that, right? So
yeah,
this is making me question: do I want to continue with this purchase?
I got a Hisense from a couple years ago, and it has Alexa built in, which you can enable or not. It's a pretty dumb smart TV, and all I do is I hook up a Fire Cube to it, Apple TV, and away I go. And I do my audio splitting to my amp because my amp won't pass through 4K uncompressed. And that's the way that I work my TV setup.
Yeah.
And I rely on devices like the Google TV Chromecast, the new device. And it seems to work well. That seems to work well. The baked-in stuff, for sure, is going to have problems because we're talking about different marketplaces and the same product.
Yeah, so it's the baked-in. So I guess I should have said
underpinning.
It was the baked-in Android TV, Google TV, I should say, that they have in the TV. So, the option now for me is to get, a TV that's not a smart TV, even though 99% of them are now, and just getting the standalone Google TV device, because I know that's what I'm going to do. I love Fire, but you're kind of stuck on the Amazon ecosystem, which is an ecosystem that just doesn't work well up here in Canada. So I have Google. I have Google, which I used for so long until I started, using iPhones, and slowly I'm not an Apple person whatsoever, But, I'm the type of person where I just want to be on one ecosystem where I want to control everything on one or two devices.
Yeah, it's difficult when you got cross because I was Apple and then I'm back to Android. The Fire Cube isn't a bad device, but I prefer Google. I just bought my dad for his 83rd birthday a Google TV Chromecast for downstairs, just because he can talk into the remote and get his Westerns. And
it's funny because
goes across all the platforms that we have.
You see, if they were more readily available last year, I for sure would have gotten my dad a Google TV because he already has a Chromecast on his shitty RCA TV that he bought a couple years ago. So he has a Chromecast, but, how do you explain to them how to cast stuff, right? It took me a while. So what I did is I took an older tablet, installed everything he needs there, and kind of showed him how to cast stuff. So that worked for a little while. That's a challenge. It's a challenge, especially when you have the language barrier, on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I did for Father's Day was I got him a Fire Stick because he has the remote. He can just turn that on and do what he does, right? So for me, that was a good option. But now you have Amazon and all that. Like, it's too much for an older man. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, the Chromecast or the Chrome TV is good for that. Still not perfect. Still got a few kinks. But my dad's biggest challenge is just working the LG TV I have with the 3D remote. That's mind-blowing to him. So
yeah,
I'm like, there's a little bit of parental supervision that has to go on for the movies, but he gets in there and he gets a little bit confused because there's a lot more. Hey, if you can rent this movie for $7.99 or something, and he doesn't really see that it's charging.
Well, that's what I'm afraid of.
So you got to be careful with that. I have all that stuff locked.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. With
I actually loaded on his Google profile. I don't have my shit on there. I just have my services that he's got profile accounts on.
Yeah.
So he can't do any damage because he has no credit card hooked up to it. So I'm like, good luck, buddy.
Yeah. I'm just afraid for the day where my phone starts going off saying, "Thank you for your purchase. Thank you for your purchase."
Yeah, exactly.
Dad, why are you buying
Here's your
porn?
receipt for.
Oh my gosh. Man. So old people, right? What can you do? Good news, Phil. I got my appointments for my mother and my dad for their vaccines. So all the old people in my family are going to be vaccinated, at least with the first one. So that's huge here. We're already 27 minutes in. I think it's time for us to jump to actual business.
Jump to the news.
Yeah, because there's quite a bit to
catch up is done.
Yeah, there's quite a bit to actually, and it's funny because listeners don't know this, but this was actually our catch-up because we haven't really talked in a couple days.
Yeah, we haven't talked all week, really.
Yeah, it's true.
It's been quiet. We've been laying low.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with some video game news. We're going to start with something that you had sent me. We were going to talk about this regardless today, but it's probably some pretty major news. So we're going to extrapolate this a little bit, and we're going to talk about kind of like why these companies are doing this, which is kind of what I hinted at in our chat earlier today, and that is probably some news that pissed off some Sony users. That is, Sony's MLB The Show 21 is not a Sony exclusive anymore. Now, it's coming out on Xbox One, April 20th. Now, the news that came out earlier this week, on Thursday, funny enough, on April 1st, April Fool's Day, was that Sony's MLB The Show 21 will be included on Xbox Gamepass on day one. Sony fanboys were livid.
I thought I was being pranked, to be honest. I was just like, I was about to post it into our chat, and I'm like, oh my God, I almost fell for an April Fool's Day. I almost fell for it. Holy shit. I was thinking about it, and I'm like, there's no way that they announced that on that day, and it's not a joke.
Yeah.
Just because Sony's being so protective over that property, and it is their own in-house developer. But then I got the article, I was looking at it today, I saw some tweets about it, and I'm like, holy crap, it's real. Interesting development. That's for sure.
Yep.
I
So
this week Outriders came out for Game Pass too.
Yeah.
It's been a time with Game Pass, I'm telling you.
Yeah, but Microsoft.
But this happens for Stadia. This happens for Stadia, and everybody will say that Stadia is dead.
Yeah,
this happens with Sony, and people just get upset. Like, oh, what the hell? It's so hilarious.
Right,
I'm like, the duality of this situation is mind-boggling to me.
There's a lot of things. The optics of this, as I mentioned on the chat, are shitty. If I was a Sony exclusive fanboy, I'd be fucking pissed, because why am I paying $90 here in Canada, $80 in the States for this game when people with Game Pass get it for free, quote unquote free, right? So the optics of it, it's not free. The optics of things don't look good for Sony. Now let's dig into this a little more. MLB The Show is the biggest baseball game. The EA game is nowhere near as big in terms of popularity, in terms of mechanics, etc. Say what you want. That's the truth. This is why this is happening. So MLB goes to Sony and say, look, we want to expand the marketplace with the video games. So your nice, sweet little exclusive isn't exclusive anymore. So obviously, this is a win-win for MLB, right? They get Sony and Microsoft users. So there needs to be incentive at the very beginning for Sony to open this up, So we don't know the deals. We don't know numbers. We don't know nothing. So this is kind of speculation, but which I know we stay away from. But at the same time, this is how these type of deals go down. So clearly, Sony's getting a bank truck full of cash, a dumpster full of cash.
The dump trucks are pulling up.
Yeah.
They got the mad cash overflowing.
Just to open the game up to Microsoft. Then, Microsoft is like, well, how are we going to get people to play a Sony game on our console? We have an idea. Why don't we put it on Game Pass? And at the same time, Microsoft is doing everything in their power to make Game Pass huge because it is their future. So, that at that point, Microsoft also got dump trucks full of cash and left it on Sony's doorsteps.
Well, the way that I understand it, number one, it's hilarious because the Sony president basically made a comment 6 months ago saying that Game Pass is unsurvivable in its current state. Mm-hmm. So he kind of made a public smackdown statement about it. Number two, Major League Baseball, when it came to renewal of the contract with the show, said, hey, look, we need it to be on multi-platforms. At which point I would have thought the Sony developer would have said this. All right. Hey, you know what? For us to do that, we're going to need a big infusion of cash because we have to acquire, the expertise and the knowledge base needed to export the game over to a different platform. So there's probably some dump truckage of cash that went that way. Now, what did Microsoft do? Because obviously they get approached by Major League Baseball and they say, hey, guess what? You're going to have to work with this developer now in order to get this over onto your platform. But then what does Microsoft do? They go behind everyone's back and go straight to them and say, what's it going to take to get this? They go to the developer and they say, what's it going to take to get this over onto Game Pass?
Yep.
And there obviously is going to be some kind of disclosure like, well, for this game to be a success on the Microsoft platform for us, we're going to need to see sales of X hundreds of millions or whatever the number is. And then Microsoft say, check is cut. And give it to them and just say, now we own the distribution rights on Game Pass for this game. You got your money. You got your amount that you needed to be a viable or a successful product. So we get to do as we please. And you know what? It's a great strategy. Who knows how long it stays exclusive to Game Pass? If it's something that's just going to always be on Game Pass, or if it's something that's going to be on Game Pass for a limited time and then go on a break sale or something like that. There's all kinds of strategies that Microsoft could be employing here.
Yeah, 100%. Here's the thing.
No matter what, it's going to make a crack in the hands of the babies. because we're all going to play this stupid game and want to buy it when it comes out next year at full price.
Exactly. That's the thing. That's exactly where it's at. It's kind of like, I'm not going to say it's fraud, but Microsoft is essentially
It's marketing.
burning the books, in the sense that, look, it's a success. It made this money for you being the studio, right? But the reality is that they paid a shit ton of money for it to be a success, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. They're doing the equivalent of buying followers on Twitter.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But that's their business model, right? And the thing is that I know all these articles like to say Game Pass is basically you're getting a free game. No. I'm paying $16 a month, right? And I'm eyeing that subscription renewal and going, is it worth it? Am I getting my maximum amount of game out of it? Like, look at Outriders came out this week. I downloaded it. I spent a night for that 50 or 60 gigabytes of game to come trundling in down my internet pipe while it interfered with my dad's enjoyment of his Chromecast TV. But the game gets in, and what do? I've played it once for like 20 minutes, and then I just was just like, I want to go back and play my PS5 because there's no load times.
There's a lot of things
It's going to be the same thing with Major League Baseball. I've bought the show in the past. Guess what? I play one inning of baseball. I realize how much I freaking hate video game baseball, and then I never fire it up. But I bought it because I had a Blue Jay on the cover that year. Yeah. Like, it really is that for a lot of gamers. I'm not saying all of them, but man, we play it for a week, and then we dive back into our old habits.
It sucks for Sony fanboys, for Sony dedicated people, I should say. I shouldn't call them fanboys, but for the dedicated few who have bought this year over year only by Sony because of this game. The reality is that it sucks from an optics point of view, but there's so many things going on in the background in terms of Microsoft's strategy, in terms of the future for Microsoft, in terms of the present for Game Pass. As you said, they need to make Game Pass worthwhile for current users at renewal time. So Microsoft is going to be spending a shit ton of money doing this for a lot of games. And at some point, if Game Pass doesn't become the universal go-to streaming service for video games, they might just cut their loss. We don't know what these numbers actually look like on the Microsoft side. We don't know how many subscribers they absolutely need to make this a worthwhile adventure for them. And you know that with every game that becomes exclusive on Game Pass or gets the day one release on Game Pass, you know that number of subscriber is gonna have to go up. So there's a lot of things at work here. Again, I'm not saying it doesn't suck for a Sony user. I saw the title of the article. I saw the titles of the article, and I'm like, oh, that's shitty. And I'm like, oh well, whatever. I'll buy it when I buy it at $15, in a few months, regardless.
Is it really shitty for Sony users? I don't think so. It's still coming out for Sony.
That's what I mean. But this is what I mean.
Like, there's no losers in this.
No.
There's no way that it's the only thing that I think that there's any credibility towards is that it looks shady as shit on some levels. That Sony kind of shoveled it over into Game Pass. That's what the optics look like, right? That's where the Sony fans might be a little bit more upset about things. But you still get your game. You're still going to pay for it. Now there's more players on Xbox. It means more competition if there's crossplay. Yep. Like, it just means the servers are more full. There's more games to be had. Everybody wins.
Like I said, from a pure optics reading headlines point of view, it sucks for a Sony person because it's like the way that it looks is I'm paying $80, $90 for this game. Someone on Microsoft is going to get it for free. Oh, that sucks. But the reality of the situation is so much more. So, anyways, that's that. I want to talk about that. Now, last year, after the Cyberpunk debacle, one of the many conversations that Phil and Tyler had, and I just watched and laughed at both of them go at it, was the future of video games and what this means for the future in regards to delays and how studios are going to handle delays and whatnot. Well, we're starting to get a glimpse of this. I feel like almost every game this year has announced a delay, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Star Wars, the Skywalker saga announced an infinite delay. They didn't even give a timeline.
That's exactly it. So, Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker saga gets delayed indefinitely. The ambitious Lego game is no longer coming in spring 2021. And just remember, this is now the second or third delay for this game.
Yeah.
It was supposed to come out last year. So now we're seeing
Christmas last year.
Yep. So now we're seeing the indefinite delay of this game. And there's a lot of things about this. Like, I think from a consumer point of view, why do you guys announce release dates? Well, investor pressure. You need to announce a release date. You need to have a date in mind that you want this to come out. So that's why. Yeah. Number 2, what marketing says versus what development is doing and actually knows about the game are two distinctly different things. And this happens in all tech. Marketing and the tech business, they're never on the same page. There's always a fight abound. So, marketing will say, oh, we're going to come out May 2nd for this game. And the reality is that if the project manager is like looking at the schedule, is like the MVP, the minimum viable product will be available in May, but the actual game won't be ready until June or July. So there's a lot of things going on here. And, it just sucks because, again, this is where the consumer, not knowing how these things work, from a consumer point of view, it sucks because you think these companies are just flat out lying to you.
Yeah, it's great if you make a trip to Walmart and you walk down the toy aisle and there's now all these Halo toys that have absolutely zero context to a game being out. And there's all these products with Halo stuff and Halo giveaways on them, which absolutely have no context or meaning anymore. Like, people have got to realize that exactly that. The marketing wheels move at a much different pace than the reality of it, especially a reality where we introduce COVID into the workforce, right? It slammed that whole industry into a spin out. And that's the big issue here. That's why Cyberpunk struggled. That's why other titles are struggling. And Cyberpunk showed that, you know what? There's two ways we can do it. We can half-ass it or we can whole-ass it. And look at the reaction of the half-ass. Let's just get the MVP out there, right? We'll work on it. And then how bad could it be? I'm sure that was a question said at some executive boardroom table. How bad could it be?
What's the worst that could happen? This is the worst. Your company being completely trashed. But this is the thing. It was a wake-up call for sure. And I'm not saying, video game companies go scot-free. They do need to adhere to some form of schedule. But the reality is that after the Cyberpunk debacle, that video game companies are going to be very, 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 very careful, to release a half-assed game right now. I bet you even Ubisoft is like, ho, we should wait.
Yeah. Exactly. Didn't they push Far Cry 6?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of fear in the air.
There's fear in the air for sure. And again, it sucks as a consumer, but we have to understand that a lot of these companies absolutely changed the way that they work over the past few months. Some of these companies are still working remotely. There's a lot of pressure. It's not easy. And listeners, don't swear at developers. Don't do that. They have zero say in all of this. They're literally making the game for you. That's it. They have zero decision power at the end of the day.
Yep, they're showing up to their 9 to midnight job.
Yeah, they're not.
It's not a 9 to 5.
It's a 9 to 9 a.m.
It's a 9 to 9 a.m. Yeah, they're doing their best and they're working in some difficult situations, and they're not driving the dump truck. In this case, they're working on pieces and stitching them together. That's the way these products get made, right? It's you go and you focus in on how well you can, animate the wind blowing a leaf or whatever the focus of the project is. You're not working on the whole grand scheme grand scale of it all and seeing it all come together. It's not until the end when it gets put together that you start to get the vision of the game and whether or not the game's working or not, whether or not all this hard work was done. And I'm just speculating. I'm just filling in some loose blanks. I know it's way more detailed and way more complicated than that. But yeah, they're not the people to take your rage out on. It's the same as Outriders this week and had all kinds of issues with servers, right? It's part of the reason why I stopped playing the game as well, because I'm like, hey, look, their service is struggling. They took upon themselves to bring out a beta for a freaking month,
yep,
to try and get ahead of this. And you know what? Every single one of those people who works at Square Enix and People Can Fly don't want to be spending Easter weekend trying to get more servers online or fix the issues that they have. They tried their best to be ahead of all of this stuff. And there's no point getting mad at them. Guess what? Go out and enjoy the weather or do something with your family. The people that are in your bubble or whatever, don't go to the malls. But, spend some time on your Easter weekend being happy about something instead of rage tweeting devs and people who are just trying their hardest to get a product working for you. Like, it's not the end of the world. Go play a different game. Like, I don't know. I know that I've gotten upset about stuff like that in the past with World of Warcraft, and it's always a dodgy week when a product launches, right? And the servers are down and there's problems, and you get mad. And then you look back on it and you go, why did I bother getting mad?
Yep.
It works fine now.
Yep.
This is still a boring, stupid game.
You just need to be you just need to be a little tranquilo sometimes and calm the fuck down.
Exactly.
Things will work itself out. So we talked a lot about Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk 1.2 was released. Have you gone back to this game?
I haven't yet. I want to. I really do. I've downloaded it on my PS5. It took me 2 downloads. It took me 2 nights to get the 1.2 patch in. They said that the Stadia patch was going live later that week, but it went live the next day. I just haven't logged into it yet. I'm curious to see if it's more playable, but I didn't really have issues on my PS5 or Stadia. Those two gaming experiences seemed pretty good to me.
Yeah.
So I've been lucky. And my friend who's on his original PS4 from 7 years ago has finished it 4 or 5 times.
Yep.
On that console.
Yep.
Without a complaint. So it's weird, man. It's weird time.
Like, I've seen the PS4 run with people, and then I've seen it run for a long time. On Wednesday, I went upstairs to watch one of the wrestling shows with my upstairs neighbor, who's also my podcast partner for the wrestling show, and his roommate was playing Cyberpunk on PS4. Couldn't even tell that it was a PS4. Like, you honestly couldn't. And he was just playing away, having fun. And we were talking about it, and he's like, I asked him, like, did you see any issues? He's like, it may have, like, crashed 1 or 2 times in the past, but, like, I've been able to finish this, like, 10 times. It's all good.
That's great. Like, honestly, I'm a bit disappointed when I play it on the PS5 because it's not a PS5 version game.
It's not a PS5, yeah, no.
So it looks like I'm playing it on PS4, and I'm like, it feels a little last gen to me. Like, I'm curious to see these better graphics and take advantage of the load times and all that. I'm not really curious to see it over 100 gigabytes, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. It's going to eat up a lot of space on the hard drive. But yeah, I want it. I kind of saw Tyler make a comment that he doesn't really want to touch it until the PS5 version comes out.
Yeah.
And that kind of resonated with me because I'm like, you know what? I want to be blown away by this game. And I think it will. It's just interesting to see what's happening around the game right now.
Yeah.
And that is this week, the head of CD Projekt Red basically came out and said that the multiplayer isn't going to be a standalone game anymore.
Yeah.
They're just going to kind of roll it out into the existing infrastructure. So it seems like that was a business model where they were going to market a GTA 5 type Cyberpunk game, and now they're just kind of shoveling it into the existing game.
Yep.
And maybe moving on to another project is a lot of the speculation online.
Yeah. there's a lot of things coming out of CD Projekt Red, so there's a lot of news that we're going to be seeing more Cyberpunk and Witcher games built within the worlds of those two main title games. So, with all these projects in their queue, and with Cyberpunk 2077 still being a major, vital piece in their business, Red 2.0 initiative will dramatically change the company's strategy. So, as the fallout from Cyberpunk 2077's launch begins to settle, CD Projekt Red has announced it has acquired Vancouver-based studio Digital Scapes as part of its new strategy adjustments. So, they've already been helping CD Projekt Red with Cyberpunk and other properties, but now they've acquired them. They need the backup. They're going to get that backup. So this Digital Scapes is now going to be known as CD Projekt Red Vancouver. So welcome to the family, CD Projekt Red Vancouver. So yeah, they're going to be working, and now you expand operations to 24 hours essentially, right? So there's a lot of work you can do. Something that a lot of software companies do is you have a NPI team. NPI stands for New Product Introduction. So these are the people who are, the cutting edge of the company, who create new products. And then you have a on the field team who make updates and take over essentially once the product has been released. So I'm starting to see the beginnings of this type of work culture at CD Projekt Red, where you have a team really focused on the newest stuff, and then you just hand it off to this team to keep up with their maintenance and whatnot. Because if there's one thing that CD Projekt Red has said, is that they are committed to fixing Cyberpunk. We know they're going to fix it. Kind of like The Witcher. The Witcher wasn't as broken, I guess I should say, but The Witcher had DLCs, The Witcher had a bunch of improvements, so CD Projekt Red has, at least in the past, proven that they're willing to invest in the maintenance of their games. So good on them in that sense.
Yeah, I have full confidence, to be clear. I still believe in CD Projekt Red. It's interesting to see all the speculation, because it is really just speculation. It's getting better at branding itself as speculation too, which I kind of like that trend in the games article industry, where they're like, hey, this is just me taking a shot, but I think CD Projekt Red are going to abandon Cyberpunk and all that. And they go on of doom and gloom, and then guess what? 1.2 comes out, and their whole premise of their opinion was, well, we haven't seen 1.2 and it's not coming out. And I don't want to acknowledge that they got hacked and stuff like that. But I'm like, I think it's a good company. I think that there's some changes that they're trying to make. And I'm excited to see how the product comes out on the other end. It's just going to take time. That's all it's going to take, is time. And you look at No Man's Sky, which is really the more accurate basis of comparison, in my opinion. And they're still dropping huge updates. They're still making a great game even better. So, yeah, I hope CD Projekt Red keep on doing that and have some fun and get the right product out there.
Yep. All right, so we're going to move on from video games. I'm going to start talking about cons. So last week on the show, we were talking about this Comic-Con special edition scheduled for Thanksgiving weekend. Just as we predicted, people are furious because it's on Thanksgiving. People expect this full-blown con, but little do people know they strategically picked this weekend because they don't want to be as big as it always is. There's even talking kind of like where they're taking a look at the situation and they're going to make a final call whether this is actually going to go forward. So we're going to see exactly what happens. So it is still scheduled for Black Friday weekend or Thanksgiving weekend out in the States, but things can always change. And again, guys, I have to say this, that the reason why they picked this weekend is because people are going to be with their families. They don't want this to be a huge event. They don't want the thousands and thousands and thousands of people camping outside of Hall H, for whatever, overnight. They don't want that.
Yep. No, it makes sense. To be honest, when you explained it to me like that, I took the position of, oh, what a stupid move, which was dumb of me because you explained it last week, and you're right. That makes perfect sense to me, that the majority of people are going to choose to be with their families, and that is the right choice. And there's a few people who are going to go to the con, and that's the right choice for that, to get it up in the air and see what they have to deal with in the new reality.
Yep.
And that's all of what it's about. Like, they just want to make sure that they have a more limited, controlled event.
Yep.
And that's the right thing to do. So
yeah, and people, I'm seeing articles, like there's this Gizmodo article, and the title is WTF Comic Con. Well, look, and in the article they essentially say stuff like, celebrities aren't going to be happy to go. Well, guess what? They don't want everyone there. This is not a major con. This is just to get the ball rolling again. New York Comic Con has also announced that they will be returning this fall with an in-person convention, and the same thing will apply. It's not going to be a full-blown con. It's going to be a smaller con just to get the ball rolling. PAX. Everyone knows PAX. PAX East 2021 Gaming Convention, previously scheduled for June 3rd through 6th, has been canceled. Penny Arcade and event coordination company ReedPop announced that PAX organizers are going to be coming back with an online convention, PAX Online 2021, for July 15th to 18th. So, there's still a lot of stuff moving around. There's still, the online conventions are going to be happening. We're getting PAX. There's going to be E3 is going online this year, with the public being allowed to kind of join in on the fun. No paywall as far as E3 is saying, but it's going to be a steady ride back to these insane cons. The last thing I want to be, even if I was a celebrity, is I'm not going to go to a full-ass con right now. Like, fuck that. So people are just shitting on the organizer of these things, and they don't realize the bigger picture. Shit isn't perfect just yet.
Yeah, we still don't even know what... I think we're all projecting what we think the world is going to be like when the mass vaccinations are out there and the herd immunity is achieved. However, and I'm not trying to fall into this doom and gloom space, but we're all learning right now in this current wave that the rules are different with the virus right now. And I don't know what the world is going to be like. It comes September, November, October, November, I don't know what we're going to be dealing with. Nobody knows. And
Nope.
that's the only thing that we know for sure. So we hope that we're all going to be going back to work. We hope we could go to Comic Cons. We hope that we could be back in movie theaters. However, I don't know that the virus is going to play well with us.
Yep.
On that front.
We don't know what's going to happen. That's the truth of everything. And my prediction, Phil, is that we're going to be seeing an article about this telling people to be tranquilo on a certain website with 3 letters as their title.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
We know
Nothing
you're
shocks
listening.
me anymore.
We know you're listening. All right, we're going to move on. We're going to move on to TV and movie news. So Last of Us... Man, have you seen the filming window for this show?
No, I haven't. I've really avoided some stuff on this. So what's up?
So Last of Us, starring Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey, will start filming in Calgary. And I love the fact that you pick a post-apocalyptic shitbag world and you pick Calgary as the city. Toronto with love. So it's going to be filmed in Calgary and area, starting in July of this year, and it's going to go until May, June of next year.
Whoa! Are you kidding me?
Yep. So it's going to start in Calgary on July 5th, and it's going to wrap on June 8th, 2022.
Oh, well, good on them for putting the whole ass into it.
That's more than one season, right? There's no way one season of this show is going to be 11 months, right?
I just can see this, that they'd go and maybe they'd shoot a bit each month, things like that, in order to get the seasons. And Calgary is probably a really good one at holding on to winter.
Well,
and being
that's
a little
the thing,
bit,
right? If you've played the first game, you know that winter plays a huge part in the game. So what better shitbag city in Canada to do it than Calgary?
And as well, you get the mountains in the background and things like that. So you're replicating Colorado really well. Yeah. And you're probably able to get away from all that and shoot in, cityscape. The only place that could be worse is maybe Edmonton. But anyhow, I get what they're doing with it. It surprises me that it's that long, because when you comparatively look at the shooting schedule for Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you just see that they're going to be like, well, we're going to start on Monday and we'll be done Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah. It's hilarious. It's like
that's all 6 episodes. It's like
Disney.
hell?
It's like Disney shooting porn. It's like, all right, one weekend. One weekend, one season, done.
It'll be in post-production for a year, but
you know what's actually hilarious?
We got what we need.
You know what's actually hilarious? That not that Pedro Pascal is going to show up on Obi-Wan, but he can honestly go back to Disney, film whatever he has to film for Disney, and come back to production for Last of Us.
Well, I've seen some speculation in the news media about the idea that Pedro Pascal could leave The Mandalorian because of how lucrative this HBO Last of Us thing is.
Yep.
And he's all gung-ho for it because he doesn't have to wear the freaking helmet. So his big gripe with The Mandalorian is being alleviated, and he feels that he's got more star potential with this role, which I guess he does. I don't know. It all depends on how many people decide that the show is worth the effort. I don't know. We haven't seen a successful migration from video games to this type of media yet.
Yeah.
Like on the big mainstream.
They're putting this one is huge. This is a huge test for the video game industry, and for HBO. Like, it's HBO. HBO rarely fails at this, right? This is HBO. This isn't, I don't know, Legacy or some bullshit. This is
this
HBO.
isn't this isn't the CW.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Well, we've got Pedro Pascal's brother. And we're going to have some teen drama. We're going to call it the 101.
Oh, man. Yeah. So,
sorry.
We'll see. And I'm not
apologies to all CW fans. All three of you.
Don't you love how we apologize to CW fans, but completely ignore the fact that we shat on Calgary?
Yeah. And Edmonton. Go on.
Yep.
You know we love you.
Yeah, those are beautiful cities in Canada.
Yeah, I know that they shoot out there just because there's so much available.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's so much available. You can hit the lakes and the valleys, and it's just an awesome place to shoot. It's just
and you know that they're gonna go to Banff and stuff like that, just for the visuals, right? Like, this is Calgary and area. Like, apparently it's a massive production. So so anyone who's played the first game knows that winter plays a huge part in this, and it makes sense to go to a place where winter starts September, and I'm not joking. September, October, you're in fucking winter, and will last until April, May. So makes sense.
I've seen snowstorms in Calgary in July. So.
There you go. I love it.
It's a crazy, crazy climate place. Like it one day it can be nice and sunny, short sleeve t-shirt, and next day there's 2 feet of snow. So who knows? It's a great place though.
So, want to talk about one of Rian Johnson's movies for a little bit?
Oh, sure. I think I know which one.
Yeah. Netflix has purchased the sequels to Knives Out for $450 million.
Yeah, it's crazy. crazy. I know he's writing them right now. He's like literally finishing up writing them.
Yep.
And I saw somehow I ended up following him on Twitter and unfollowing him because I'm so tired of how much bullcrap I get about the Star Wars wars that go on with fans and trying to rope him into it. And it is, he's not my favorite Star Wars movie, but I accept it. And I do like his stuff. But they posted up some stuff that they found in Walmart or something about Knives Out. There's a DVD video of it with like paintball smatterings all over it, and Daniel Craig and even Ryan Johnson's like, who the fuck authorized this? It's just been comical to watch, right? Like, I don't know how I feel about this Netflix stuff though. I'm like,
hey, here's the thing.
It's weird.
It's a sequel by name only. It's gonna be an entirely new cast, new story, new everything. So, it's just using the popularity of the Knives Out name, which, it was one of the last movies that came out during normal times. So,
yeah, and it was good. It was really good.
It was really good.
So, the funny thing is that it's exactly relates back to the story about MLB The Show. How much money would it take? In this case, it would take $450 million. So that is 1.5 dump trucks full of cash to buy Knives Out property sequels.
Yep.
So think about an even bigger platform in video games.
Now, I love the segues that we're pulling here because it has been announced, or not announced, speculation, a lot of rumor and innuendo that NBC Universal is considering pulling movies from HBO Max and Netflix for Peacock. Because Peacock is a little behind in the race, and everyone knows everything in this entire streaming race is about exclusivity. So NBC Universal is thinking about pulling some of their movies outside of other streaming services and into their own Peacock.
It's not shocking. Not shocking at all. I'm so annoyed, especially as a Canadian customer, when these little wars happen and they affect our content. That annoys the crap out of me when contracts get pulled. Usually we find that some stuff does stay on in the Canada Netflix universe. And it is arguable that during all this segmentation, that Canada Netflix is actually probably swayed now, where it used to be really popular to get a VPN so you can watch American Netflix. And I think now the Americans want to watch Canadian Netflix in a lot of ways basically. Because, basically we've got more of that content that didn't have to subdivide.
Yeah,
the way
Canadian
that it did in the
Netflix
States.
just recently lost Friends to Crave, but they still have The Office. So, it sucks.
They got Parks and Rec, didn't they?
Yeah, Netflix has Parks and Rec, as does Amazon. Amazon also has Parks and Rec up here.
They had it. I don't know if they still do.
It's still there.
Amazon are sneaky. It bakes in and out, man. Yeah. There's stuff like the Fraggles is now over on Apple TV, but it used to be on Prime. That's so weird, man. Stuff moves around, and I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah,
because I've been trying to watch it.
Does kind of screw around with us, but we kind of sometimes win because a lot of these deals are only being struck in the States. So sometimes we've been saved from a lot, but then you get something really weird where Peacock signed a deal with Chorus. Who the fuck watches Chorus? You know what Chorus is? It's Global.
Yeah.
Global, YTV, Showcase.
Yeah. And they own all the radio stations too.
Yeah.
Like The Edge, stuff like that. Chorus Radio.
Yep. So
big players.
Yeah, so that's why Chorus has their Slack TV up here in Canada, where you can get all the Chorus channels in one streaming service. So, that's kind of like where Saved by the Bell and any Peacock exclusive goes. So, I don't know, it's kind of
Sometimes it also goes over to Showcase, which is owned by Chorus.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, but it shows up on the regular TV. Like that's why you get like Brave New World came in on a channel for us, which was weird.
Yeah, but
because that was a Peacock exclusive that was broadcast on Showcase for us.
Yeah. So the deal with Chorus is that they will air it on their channels, but with Slack TV,
channel,
you get everything. So
Yeah.
go figure.
That's like another like $20 a month or something through your Prime. So Prime's dipping into that. I'm like, oh my God, it's so complicated.
Yeah. Yeah. Because Chorus and Prime here are dead together, so that's why you can go.
I was wondering about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey man, I got my Adult Swim channel. I'm happy.
Yeah. Harley Quinn, basically.
Harley Quinn, and they've been doing the Justice League animated movies.
Yep.
For the past while, I've been enjoying those.
Those are great. Most of them. All right. So one last bit news of the day, and it's a little fear mongering, but this is information that I think is really important for people to know, because it goes to show you that at the end of the day, our privacy, as quote unquote important it is to companies, shit happens. Phil, Did you know 533 million Facebook users' phone numbers and personal data has been leaked online?
I didn't know that, but color me shocked. Not like, sorry.
Business Insider exposed data is from users from 106 countries, including over 32 million records on users in the US, 11 million users in the UK, and 6 million users in India. So there's forums in the dark web where our information is literally just out there for people. The data leak includes phone numbers, Facebook IDs, full names, locations, birthdays, bios, some include email addresses.
Great.
Yep. So
just great.
Again,
and you know what? Facebook wouldn't come out and say it until they got caught, right? Then it's, let's put out some public messaging to say, change your passwords, everybody.
Yep.
Like, that's what bugs me ultimately with these big companies. It's like, if like they literally get together and have their coffee, and Mark sits at the table, Mr. Zuckerberg, and he sits down and he goes, oh man, I hope the aliens don't invade today. And then he says, hey, how many breaches did we have last night? And they go, oh, well, we had 50 million breaches. We lost all this information for these people. Does anybody know about it? No. Shh. And then somebody finds it on the dark web, reports it to the media, and then the loophole's found and exposed, and then Facebook just react, right? Like,
or my favorite is when they say, oh, we fixed that issue already.
Yeah. Exactly. Just like when all that spyware was dropped into all the routers and all the watchdog software over Christmas, right? And they keep on coming out saying, it's fixed. And it's like data breach gets worse. How is this possible? Like it's like there's Kaijus just coming from the breach. It's just like, holy shit, man! How could it get any worse? Now there's 3 Kaijus.
I know, it's ridiculous.
They're coming for your privacy.
Yeah, it's Godzilla, King of the Monsters up in here. But seriously, it's crazy, and this is kind of where I wish that there was more government watchdog oversight, because when these companies discover something, they don't actually have to disclose anything.
No. The funny thing is it's just like with COVID world and everything. Okay, you're found in violation of the code. All right, that's a $5,000 fine. All right, we stood to make $50,000 today because we violated the code. Who cares about the $5,000 fine? The fines don't match. The punishment doesn't match anything real to these multi-billion-dollar companies.
Yep.
Facebook doesn't care if they get a $100,000 fine. They don't give a shit if these companies, if they're actually held to account, because the fines are meaningless.
Yep.
They're meaningful to people and small businesses, but they're not to these corporations, and the laws have to scale.
Yep.
Like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, all these companies, like hell, even like recently last year, I think, what was it? The Life Labs got hacked here in Canada. And you know what? I'm thinking, who cares? They got an email address and they got maybe a phone number. But no, they also get your health card number.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? So It's just, and they probably got a good $5,000 fine. I don't know what it was, but I'm sure that they're still pumping,
We've barely even heard about it since it happened. It was news for an afternoon, and that was it.
Yeah. It's just mind-boggling the amount of stuff that's compromised every day by these companies. It's also, on the other side, it is mind-boggling how much effort goes into protecting your data from a responsible company's point of view.
Yes.
So I can say that firsthand that the company that I work, I have experience with, definitely takes all that stuff seriously. So good for them. And I do see a lot of money. Like, I'm not trying to dissuade people, or, I know you're the same opinion, that we're not trying to say Facebook are just giving away this shit. I know they're trying really hard in order to protect our data. But the stuff that makes me mad is usually our data is the stuff that's being sold. Yeah. So it makes me a little bit salty about it.
Yeah.
When on the product.
This is why I always say, I have a email address just for accounts and stuff, right? Like, my actual email address, if you're going to email me something useful, I have an email address for that. For accounts, for bullshit like that, I have a separate email address. Like, I have 2 or 3 email addresses that I constantly use for different reasons just because of this. And with all my social media and stuff like that, I might have 1 or 2 passwords that I use that have no resemblance in any shape, way, or form to the password of, like, my banking information and CRA and stuff like that. My tax stuff in Canada.
My personal stuff that needs the ironclad is very, very unique.
Yeah. So,
and I do that for a reason. Yeah.
Yeah, and these are things that, like, hopefully you can start doing, like having separate email accounts, using better passwords, using two-way authentication where possible. Just be careful that you don't lose your phone or whatever, and make sure that when you do move your phone, you read up into how to move your authentication, or else you're going to be stuck with your old phone for a while. But there's a lot of things that you can do, and you email us. You can email us. We can help you. We won't tell you what to do, but we can kind of give you guides in terms of what to do.
Yeah, some best practices, some suggestions. That's all.
Yeah,
they're not things that you need to hold on to with your last breath, but we do have some experience into
Yeah, no, it's just crazy, but it just, there's a lot that you can do, where I see these breaches and I'm like, yeah, it sucks, but I don't really care because, the information that's on that database it's not that it's not real, but it's not complete information.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, I had it last week when I told you about my Ubisoft account. And it was just upsetting to me, the idea that somebody went in there and even changed my language preference.
Yeah.
That it's like there's literally nothing of value in there. Nothing of value at all. Like, it's just my collection of games. Like, just a list of games that I played and the points that I have in them. So there's no value. There's no reason. It's just somebody doing it for the sake of being able to say that they did it. Right? But it still really upset me that it happened, and I was desperate to get things righted.
Yeah.
Right?
I really don't understand why people want to do this stuff. Like, I don't see where anyone wins anything. You're so likely to get blocked within hours of stealing someone's info. It's just weird. I don't know. I don't get the motivation behind hackers outside of the fact that I can do it.
Yeah, I think it's just people being bored, right? And that's okay. Like, it's just the experience that they're garnering or whatever. I don't like it when it happens to me or people that I care about, but I get it. I don't know. Like, when we're kids, I'm not saying that it's only kids who do it, but I know that I was more prone to troublemaking like that, and you're not really thinking about the consequences per se. Like, you're just going to get blacklisted. That IP is no longer going to be usable.
Yeah, exactly.
for stuff. So it's just weird.
It's just a shit show at the end of the day. Like, I don't see the reason why people do what it is they do, and whatever. I don't get it. So that's that. Anything else you want to talk about, Phil?
No,
hey, let's talk some Lego before we go.
Yeah, I was going to say about Lego, actually, because there's been a lot going on in the Lego world. Like, first of all, Justin, Just Too Good, took off his mask. So congratulations to him. He's been doing this for a long time, and the guy's finally doing maskless videos. So I know we've tried to get him on this show, and we had him agreed for a while. But he's having some difficulties, I guess, is the subtext that I get. But he's a great source for information, and I've been showing Boris some fun Lego stuff, Boris.
Yeah. So, couple things. Number one, I'm not sure about those busts. I like them, but I'm not sure about those busts. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like Lego anymore. Like they're nice in the sense that they're smaller-ish, so you can kind of display them more, but I'm not sure about them as a product. And I'm sure they're going to do well.
They still look like Lego.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing.
Here's the thing.
They're already out.
They're out.
They're already out, and they're doing well.
Doing well.
Yeah, like not all of them, but the Star Wars ones came out last year. There was Stormtrooper, TIE Fighter Pilot, and Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I have 2 of them. I haven't built them, but I have 2 of them in the box. There was Iron Man. All right, that came out. And now they're expanding into Batman, Venom, and there's going to be a Darth Vader, a Scout Trooper, and there's also going to be a UCS, mini UCS of the droid, the Imperial droid from Empire, which I'm quite excited about because it's not black. It's kind of gray.
Yeah.
And I love the little panel. Now, these things do well because they're sub $100.
Yes.
And like you've mentioned, they're a little bit smaller. I don't know that the Batman stuff is going to do well. That cowl it creeps me out a little bit. The eyes look really good, but that whole mouth and the thing, you can see it looks a little bit better with Venom because of the teeth and whatnot. So I get putting the
good too.
Yeah, I get putting the discolored, blackened, tinted, clear Lego behind that. But with the Batman, it looks a little weird.
Yes.
To me, but anyhow, these products are. Here's the thing that's happening with Lego. They are switching their sites over to target the 18+ crowd. I assume that they've got proper analytics that show the majority of Lego sets aren't built by kids anymore. It's mostly nostalgia hunting by adults with disposable cash. And I think the pandemic has even shown that even more.
Yeah.
And now the majority of Lego's lineups are going to these black boxes. Like the latest set in ideas is Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
And it's 18+ and all custom minifigs. And they're coming out with a CMF series, a custom minifig series of Looney Tunes for the new Space Jam movie. And these things are all custom heads.
Custom minifigs as in not your regular.
They look like, well, it's just a run of minifigs. It's just a bagged run of minifigs.
And that's the thing.
And it's all going to be Looney Tunes. Right? No, they've been doing this for years. These minifig runs. I did it for the Lego Movie 2. I bought a case.
Yeah.
And got 2 full sets. And stuff like that. Like they do it on their own properties. They're the one that they've never done on is Star Wars. Because they're technically not allowed, but we think there's a loophole in that now. So we're anticipating that could happen any day. But yeah, Lego's refocusing, and they're bringing out the 1966 Batmobile for sub $50.
That's what
they're bringing out, and that has Batman and the Joker as minifigs in it.
Can you?
They're also bringing out a helicopter with Robin for $24.99. So you're going to be able to collect all of the minifigs from Batman and get it done with, and there's also a pack out for $20 with the Penguin and Harley Quinn in it, which is very unusual for them to do a Harley Quinn figure because they're trying to say that they're not doing the Adult Swim version of Harley Quinn. They're trying to do the kids version of Harley Quinn. Yeah. So, but you know what people do is they take the hammer out of Harley Quinn's hands and they put in a machine gun.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, Lego's getting interesting. It's getting really fun. They're getting away from a lot of the rules that they said they'd never do things, or they were going to be very particular about molds. And I'm telling you, like when you look at the Winnie the Pooh set, the Eeyore is just awesome. Like some of these characters are just crazy with their paint jobs and how accurate they are.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of excited. Like it started with that Sesame Street set, and now I want the Winnie the Pooh set. Now I want so many sets, I just don't have the money for it, honestly.
Yeah.
Or the space.
So when is the Batman 66?
I think it's April 24th.
For pre-sale?
There won't be a pre-sale on that.
Yeah, pre-sale.
Oh, there probably will be pre-sale a week before.
Hey,
something like that.
You should do me a favor.
What? You want me to get you that?
Help me get this.
Yeah, I'll keep my eyes open. Like, here's the thing. This is my new approach with Lego. Ignore it for 6 months, and there'll be tons of it.
Yeah.
Honestly, like those 500 first packs that everybody was freaking out about and spending like $80 on and whatnot, you can go anywhere on Lego and get them now.
Yeah.
It was just hot for those 2 or 3 months, right? Like everybody wanted it. Everybody thought that, oh my God, the sky is falling. Now you can hit, like, turn a rock over and there's 5 of them scattering.
Yeah, like I'm still debating because I have the Batmobile, right? So
yeah, you've got the smaller one.
Yeah, I got the smaller one. So I think I might continue this trend of only getting Batmobiles and the Batmobile.
Yeah, and that's a same scale Batmobile, so that'll go well in your collection.
Yeah. So I think that's what I'm going to do. It
gets really confusing.
I think I'm going to keep and stick to my Bat cars and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I want the 66, and I still want that 89 Batmobile. And I know that's you can still buy easily for $250 or something.
$299, I think.
Yeah.
Canadian or $250. Yeah. I'm gonna. There is a set that I didn't think I was gonna buy, but I think I'm too excited to buy it, and that's the Porsche 911.
Oh yeah.
The big one. Apparently, the build on that is insanely fun. Mm-hmm. That's the reviews that I've seen are just the techniques, and unfortunately, I geek out over stuff like that, like how they make things, how they make different angles come together and whatnot, the engineering of it all, and how it's conveyed in the instructions. So you don't even know what you're building until you place that piece into the vehicle.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a big thing. Like I remember I got so excited because I was building a house, and the designer's approach to how they built the staircase blew me away.
Right.
And the pieces that they used on the staircase and the angles and stuff like that. And I'm like, holy shit, that's a shield, but it's a stone, but it's angled. And it was just fun. It's just, you know, you get a little charge out of it.
You know what would be a fun kind of set? So the one that I always debate on getting is the Friends Central Perk one. But I feel like the WandaVision house would be a fantastic Lego set to get if they were to make one.
Yeah, well, this year, when Friends retires, it's going to be picked up with Seinfeld.
Yeah.
They have a Seinfeld one. So I was originally going to get the Friends one, and then I don't think I'm a big enough fan of Friends to really feel like I want to add that to my collection. However, I do 100% feel that I'm a big enough fan of Seinfeld to want to have that set. So I'm making a commitment now that when the Seinfeld set comes out, I will be buying it, even though I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Just to have George and
I kind of want that
Jerry
one, too. So we'll see. We'll see what I get.
Kramer.
But for sure, I've decided here on the show that I'm going to be collecting all the Batmobiles. So that's that.
Yeah, and they're easy builds. They're good.
Yeah, they're
good.
really easy.
The problem that I see for you is that if you go out and you buy that $249 or $300 Batmobile, the scale of it is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And then it throws your whole collection out. That's why I say stick with that price point of the $50 sub $50, because then they're all going to look well on a shelf.
Yeah. And the Batwing is the other one, but that one is just too big for me.
That one's interesting because it's actually wall mountable.
And that.
Yeah, that's a really interesting angle from Lego. And well done. Like, congrats, Lego. They're starting to think outside the box with their products.
Yep.
And that's when consumers win, right? It's going to be, in my opinion, this is going to be heralded as a really high tide for Lego. I don't know where they go, if it's further up or down from here. They're making some interesting choices with some of the product lines, but we'll see how it all works out.
Yep. All right, Phil, I think it's that time where you let our listeners know how they can get a hold of us.
Oh, yeah. You know what? If you want to track us down, you can find us at www.itscanonpodcast.com. You can track us down on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Its Canon Podcast. If you want to email us, which I know a lot of you have been this week, you can track us down at show@itscanonpodcast.com. You can subscribe via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play. Anywhere that you find podcasts, you're going to find the It's Canon Podcast. And if you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe and leave a rate and review if the platform allows it. And thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us.
Yep, thank you so much, everyone. It means a lot. All the messages, whether positive or negative, at least I know people are listening, which makes this show worthwhile to do, even though I still maintain that I will be making this show if it was just myself and Phil.
Geek therapy, baby.
Yep. So that is that. We are the It's Canon Podcast, a podcast where we talk about all things pop culture, the podcast where we talk about all things geek, we talk about all things comic books, we talk about all things books, movies, TV shows, video games, streaming services, sports, Lego, anything and everything. And Phil, do you know what the best part of it all is?
It's in canon, baby.
That's right. It's in canon. He's Phil. I'm Boris. It's the It's Canon Podcast. Good. I guess we're back on Wednesday to talk Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yeah. So good night.